Hello, my name is Sharon. It's Tuesday, June 24th, and I am reading the New Bedford Standard Times. Today's weather: record-breaking temperatures, high of 99, low of 74. Wednesday, tomorrow, high of 96, with the low of 69. Thursday, it's predicted to be cloudy and cooler, with a thunderstorm. Highs will be 75, lows 63. On Friday, we're expecting a shower in the p.m., and the high will be 71, the low 62. Saturday, prediction: a couple of morning showers with the high of 76 and the low of 62. Headline: I-195 Route 18 roadwork to start. Story by Frank Mulligan. The 5-year, $400 million New Bedford Interstate 195 Route 18 rehabilitation project is about to get underway, rebuilding several bridges and transforming the area. City councilors invited Mass DOT officials in for a project update on June 17th. The work will come in 5 phases, starting this summer and finishing in spring of 2030. Traffic was naturally a concern. City Councilor Derek Baptiste anticipated that motorists would avoid delays by taking shortcuts through the city. Mass DOT project manager Valerie Kilduff said plans were in place to mitigate traffic impact as much as possible. Clearly, we're going to have some traffic issues. It's a big project. The goal is to keep local traffic local, she said. Traffic plans have been in the works for more than 2 years. Jennifer Carloni, City Planning Department Director, said traffic impact will be monitored throughout and addressed by the project team. Sean Side, New Bedford City Engineer, said Mass DOT had been working closely with the city for at least 2 years on traffic plans. Quote, "We will continue to work closely with them. If you see a problem, let us know and we'll let them know," end quote. Kilduff said cameras will be set up to monitor traffic flows and police details will be assigned as needed. Quote, "We will do what we have to do to mitigate," end quote. All local street detours will be announced in advance, and all driveways will remain open according to the plans. On-street parking will be available throughout. The ramps to and from Cedar Grove Street and Penniman Street will be maintained throughout the construction, with short-term closures for paving. On the highway, real-time traffic information will be posted on I-195. No lanes on I-195 will be closed during peak traffic times, and ramp closure durations will be minimized. Mass DOT has met with school officials. Kilduff said they had met with Hayden McFadden Elementary School officials to discuss their concerns with parking and bus transportation to and from the school. During the first 2 phases, from this summer to fall 2027, there won't be road work affecting the school. The school won't lose any parking when the project's completed. The current chaotic lot will be appropriately and permanently striped when the job's finished. They might need to seek school parking at another location during later phases. Half of the school parking lot will be kept open. The project will include bridge replacements. The project will include replacing 3 bridges at the I-195 Route 18 interchange, I-195 east and westbound, ramps from I-195 to Route 18, widening and reconstructing I-195 from Mount Pleasant Street to North Front Street to improve ramp safety, outside barrier and median replacement of 3 bridges, I-195 over North Front Street, Belleville Avenue, and Acushnet River, and resurfacing and or reconstructing Cedar Grove, Purchase, County, Penniman, Kenyon, State, roadway, and sidewalk with accessibility upgrades. The project also includes developing a landscaped park within the interchange and under the bridge, with a shared-use skate park, and the parking lot. An approximately 35-foot high retaining wall with noise barrier will be erected along Cedar Grove Street. It will begin on I-195 westbound at Purchase Street and will end at I-195 westbound at Mount Pleasant Street, and will be mounted on the barrier bridge and ground-mounted along Cedar Grove. Work will occur mostly during the day and weekdays, 7 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. Some night work will be needed for bridge demolition, drainage installation, and utility work. They will also minimize construction vehicle traffic on local streets. Virtual public meeting scheduled for June 26th. Kilduff said abutters in the community will be kept informed throughout the project through the project website, public meetings, a telephone hotline, and email. There will be a virtual meeting for the public on June 26th at 6 p.m. It's going to be a process, but in 5 years we'll be done, and we won't have to do it for another 100 years, Kilduff said. Developers' laundromat plans greeted with heavy opposition. Story by Catherine Gallerani. Residents on Arnold and Chancery Streets have raised concerns about limited parking, increased traffic, and a rat problem as key issues with a proposal to open a new laundromat near their homes. At the June 11th New Bedford Planning Board meeting, several neighbors expressed opposition to a proposal to convert an abandoned commercial retail building at 184 Arnold Street into a laundromat. Jordan AGV Incorporated, based in Dartmouth, is seeking approval for site plan review for the proposed laundromat. This is the third laundromat proposal in as many months from developers seeking special permits and site plan approval from the New Bedford Planning Board to either renovate or build a new site. Neighbor concerns. Arnold Street resident Michael Tanner said he lives directly across the street next to Penny's convenience store, and parking outside his home is already a problem. I can't even count how many times my car has been sideswiped by customers of Penny's convenience store pulling into park outside the building next to my property, he said. 2 of those accidents are documented with the police, and there are several more I didn't bother with. These were straight-up hit-and-runs. Some of them I saw from my window and didn't get the plate, so couldn't do much. Emerson Street resident Charles Drayton has multiple concerns about an increase in traffic in an area that is already busy, among other problems. The problem is going to be the parking situation and the traffic that's going to be traveling to the local streets, he said. Emerson Street's a one-way that turns into a one-way, being Arnold Street just before the laundromat and Penny's convenience store across the street. As it is now, just with Penny's, there's always cars parked there. Other neighbors raised concerns about the impact on the families who live there. Bernadette Coelho, who lives on Emerson Street, said the traffic and lack of parking in the neighborhood already cause problems. We've been saying it's becoming like a racetrack with all the traffic that comes down Emerson to get to the corner store, she said. As the designers of this proposed project stated, there is no parking lot at the site. One of the other concerns that we have is oftentimes we have in the past been missed for basic services like trash or recycled pickup because the vehicles are not able to traverse the very tight streets here. The site has an allowed use. Jason Alves of CAB Engineering Solutions, representing the owner Dartmouth-based Jordan AGV Incorporated, said with the laundromat intended to service the neighborhood, they are anticipating a fair amount of pedestrian foot traffic. He acknowledged there is no off-street parking available on site, but said they are proposing bicycle racks and people will be able to access the business from a nearby bus line. The project designer said the laundromat is in an allowed use, and considering how tight the property is, they have taken into consideration adding fencing to not interfere with the neighbor's property, and any trash receptacles will be enclosed in the fenced-in area. Pest control. Neighbors also say rats have been causing a problem, and that could get worse. Planning Board member Camille Kazan said she understands the concerns about pest control, and it is on the applicant to have contracts in place with pest control to address any problems that occur. Staff planner Rachel Malloy said rats can carry illness and disease, so a pest control management strategy would have to be put in place to address that concern. A neighborhood in opposition. Planning Board member Catherine Duff said she understands the neighbors' concerns about traffic and the stress that a large laundromat moving into the area would bring, as it would appeal to people from outside the area. I would also agree that this is a residential neighborhood with a lot of 1 and 2 family homes, and typically home ownership has laundry services within the home, she said. Next meeting. No vote was taken, and the hearing was continued to the next planning board meeting scheduled for July 9th at 6 p.m. The project will also go before the Zoning Board of Appeals on June 26 at 6 p.m. with a request for a parking variance and a special permit for a change to an existing non-conforming lot. Obituary. Sandra L. Baptiste Augustine. Sandra L. Baptiste Augustine, 71, passed away on Saturday, May 24, 2025, at Charlton Hospital, Fall River, beloved wife of the late Darrell Augustine. Survived by her son Jonathan Snow and his wife Janelle, daughter Nicole Snow, her brother Barry Kifeya, her sister-in-law Cheryl Machado, her niece Anne Marie Marcucci, her goddaughter Hope Miller, and her grandchildren JC and Jesselyn. In addition to her husband and parents, Sandra was predeceased by her granddaughter Heather. Sandra will be laid to rest privately along her husband in St. Anthony's Cemetery in Mattapoisett. 16-year-old cougar at Buttonwood Park Zoo has died. Story by Matthew Ferreira. Buttonwood Park Zoo officials and staff have announced with heavy hearts the recent loss of longtime zoo resident Riley the cougar. According to a press release, Riley was 16 years old when he died on Thursday, June 12th, due to age-related complications. It was the second loss for the Buttonwood Park Zoo in the past few months, following the May 28th loss of red panda Marie. Riley was the second oldest male cougar living in an association of zoos and aquariums, accredited facility, and a cherished member of the BP Zoo family. BP Zoo officials wrote in the release. Riley arrived at the New Bedford Zoo in 2009, the release reads, after he'd been orphaned in the wild in South Dakota and was deemed non-releasable due to his age. According to the release, Riley spent most of his life living with a female cougar named Nikki, whose 2024 death was the result of a period of rapid decline due to end-stage chronic kidney disease. Riley's life was remarkably long. In the release, BP Zoo officials described Riley's 16-year lifespan as remarkably long and a testament to expert care, patience, and the powerful bond between animals and the people who care for them. Riley lived much longer than he should have because of the care we were able to provide him, said BP Zoo veterinarian Dr. Emmy Budis, who, according to the release, was able to build a relationship with Riley that made it easier for her to monitor his blood pressure. In 2023, Riley was diagnosed with chronic kidney disease and systematic hypertension, after which Budis worked closely with animal care staff to build a relationship with Riley that made it easier for her to monitor his blood pressure, the release reads. Budis credits Riley's demeanor and eagerness to participate in training sessions as the reasons why zoo staff were able to do so close monitoring his health for the last 2 years of his life. Despite Riley being an older cat, he was very willing to learn new behaviors for obtaining blood pressures and performing blood draws from his tail. He was a very smart, motivated, and calm cat, which is what made training these new behaviors at an old age possible, Budis said. He truly was the best and most tolerant big cat I have ever worked with. Riley remembered as a fan favorite bestest boy. Guests and staff alike were drawn to the captivating presence, and his absence will be deeply felt across the zoo grounds, Buttonwood Park Zoo Director Shara Raposa is quoted in the release. For the animal care and veterinary team, Riley was more than just a resident. He was family. His passing, especially in a year when we've experienced significant loss at Buttonwood Park Zoo, has been particularly hard on our dedicated staff. We're grieving, but we're also reflecting on the incredible care and connection Riley experienced throughout his long life. He still had his spot, said Buttonwood Park Zoo Care Team member Stephanie Durrett Medeiros, despite the tendency for cougar spots fade with age. Durrett Medeiros cared for Riley most of his life, according to the relief. He was just the bestest boy. He loved his fish, especially diving for them in the pool, said Katie Harding, another long-term member of Riley's care team. He was easy to engage with, and he loved to play with Nikki and with his keepers. Riley leaves a New Bedford legacy. According to Buddhists, Riley had been one of the zoo's last remaining residents to have arrived shortly after Buttonwood Park Zoo's transformative reopening in 2000, and in the time since has stood as a symbol of continuity and resilience through decades of growth and change. While we mourn the loss of this extraordinary cat, we also celebrate the many years he spent as an ambassador for his species, helping to inspire awe and appreciation for North America's majestic wild cats, the zoo's release reads. Quote, Riley's legacy lives on in the hearts of those who knew and cared for him, and in the generations of visitors whose love for wildlife was sparked by his story. End quote. Heat wave bringing temps near 100 to New Bedford. Article by Dan Medeiros. Be warned, the next few days will be scorches, with temperatures running dangerously high, and the city of New Bedford is opening cooling centers. The National Weather Service has issued an extreme heat warning for almost all of eastern Massachusetts and southern New England, with dangerous heat expected through Tuesday night. Mayor John Mitchell urged residents to take sensible steps to help keep their family and friends safe. I encourage everyone over the next few days to check on elderly neighbors, children, pets, and those with health conditions that could put them in risk, he said. A phone call or a visit could really make the difference for someone you care about. Please use common sense and take heat-related risks seriously. End quote. How hot is it expected to get in New Bedford? According to the NWS, New Weather Service, Monday's high is predicted to reach 90 degrees with light winds. Tuesday will be the peak of the heat wave, with a high of 95, but with a heat index as high as 106. The heat will continue into Wednesday, with temperatures approaching 90 and winds of 6 to 10 miles per hour. The temps will cool down later in the week, with highs in the mid-70s. Where will New Bedford have cooling centers? The city's public libraries will open with air conditioning and staff on hand to help residents. Main Branch, 613 Pleasant Street, 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. Casa de Saud, 58 Crepeau Street, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. on Monday and Wednesday, 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. on Tuesday. Howland Green, 3 Rodney French Boulevard, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. on Monday and Wednesday, 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. on Tuesday. Lawler, 745 Rockdale Ave, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. on Monday and Wednesday, 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. on Tuesday. Wilkes, 1119 Acushnet Avenue, 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. Are there any other ways to stay cool? Beaches. Lifeguards will be on duty longer at East and West beaches until 7 p.m. on Monday and Tuesday. Splash pads. City parks with splash pads to offer a break from the heat are Ashley Park, Beauregard Pena Playground, Benrose Field, Brooklawn Park, Klasky Common, Harrington Park, Magnic Park, and Montes Park. How to stay safe during extreme heat. People facing extreme heat should do the following, according to the New Weather Service. Drink plenty of fluids. Stay in an air-conditioned room. Stay out of the sun. Check up on relatives and neighbors. Do not leave young children and pets in unattended vehicles. Wear lightweight and loose-fitting clothing outdoors. Limit strenuous activities to early morning or evening. MAGA allies warn against forever war. Article by Zach Anderson, USA Today. After President Donald Trump finished his June 21st address to the nation about bombing Iran, close ally and MAGA leader Steve Bannon declared on his podcast that it may not have been what a lot of MAGA wanted to hear. Trump said he didn't want to escalate tensions with Iran further, but, quote, if peace does not come quickly, we will go after those other targets with precision, speed, and skill, end quote. Bannon said that the situation has the potential to escalate. This is the incrementalism, said Bannon, Trump's first-term White House chief strategist. If they hit back at American troops, do we go back in and hit again? Next thing you know, brother, you're in a forever war, end quote. Opposition to forever wars has become one of the central tenets of the Trump GOP, something the president has repeatedly highlighted in casting himself as a peacemaker who would get the country out of war, not start new ones. We will measure our success not only by the battles we win, but also by the wars that we end. And perhaps most importantly, the wars we never get into, Trump said on Inauguration Day. That stance makes this a delicate and legacy-defining moment for Trump. It's also a sensitive one for him with his own party. A vociferous debate about whether Trump should bomb Iran's nuclear facilities played out among conservatives in the lead-up to the June 21st attack. Some prominent MAGA figures said a strike would go against Trump's anti-interventionist approach, which has tapped into deep discontent with prolonged wars in the Middle East and reshaped the party's foreign policy. MAGA stalwart Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene of Georgia wrote a long post on social media the day after the bombing that started, quote, "I don't know anyone in America who has been the victim of a crime or killed by Iran." She continued, "I can support President Trump and his great administration on many of the great things they are doing, while disagreeing on bombing Iran and getting involved in a hot war that Israel started," end quote. Representative Thomas Massey, Republican from Kentucky, said Trump's Iran strike is not constitutional in a social media post and told CBS's Face the Nation June 22nd that his side of the MAGA base is made up of non-interventionists who are tired from all these wars. Trump lashed out at Massey, saying MAGA should drop this pathetic loser like the plague. Still, many Republicans rallied around the president after the Iran strike. Everyone from Trump's former Vice President Mike Pence to a slew of congressional leaders and MAGA figures such as Turning Point USA founder Charlie Kirk praised the move. Kirk said Iran gave Trump no choice and that he acted with prudence and decisiveness. Even Bannon, while raising concerns about how the conflict could play out, said, "Not that it's wrong to take these actions. Sometimes you must take these actions." Some conservatives are dismissing concerns that Trump's bombing campaign could fracture the GOP. Longtime Trump advisor Roger Stone told USA Today Trump is far too wise to get drawn into a prolonged, never-ending war, which he said is the only thing that could divide the MAGA coalition. Lanhee Chen, a fellow with the conservative Hoover Institution and former advisor to leading GOP figures, said on NBC June 22nd that the debate inside the GOP has been muted since the bombs fell. Chen argued that keeping Iran from having nuclear weapons has long been a unifying point for Republicans. If the attack ends up being similar to what Trump did in 2020, when he ordered a drone strike that killed an Iranian general, which didn't escalate into broader conflict, then Chen said he believes Trump is going to be able to hold the coalition together. Republican consultant Matt Gorman said on Fox News June 22nd that Trump threaded the needle beautifully. Gorman, who served as an advisor to GOP U.S. Senate Tim Scott's 2024 presidential campaign, said the Trump administration has been clear that the Iran attack is a very limited, targeted, focused operation. They don't want anything long-term. But tensions remain among conservatives. After the president's strike, Bannon said that Iran could distract from Trump's domestic agenda, including immigration enforcement and passing his high-priority tax and policy legislation. Bannon pointed to the comments on his show's live chat in arguing Trump has some work to do to sell his Iran strike to his base, particularly among younger conservatives. There are a lot of MAGA that are not happy about this, Bannon said late on June 21st, while predicting that he thinks Trump will get MAGA on board. What comes next will be key. Figures such as Bannon are concerned about seeking regime change in Iran and don't want to see the situation ramp up more. American troops have been killed and forever torn apart physically and mentally for regime change, foreign wars, and for military industrial base profits, Green wrote June 22nd. I'm sick of it. I can easily say I support nuclear-armed Israel's right to defend themselves and also say at the same time I don't want to fight or fund nuclear-armed Israel wars, end quote. The Trump administration is attuned to such concerns. Vice President J.D. Vance appeared on two prominent television programs on June 22nd to make the case that Trump isn't pursuing regime change. I certainly empathize with Americans who are exhausted after 25 years of foreign entanglements in the Middle East. I understand the concern, Vance said on NBC, adding, this is not going to be some long, drawn-out thing. On ABC, Vance addressed the appearance of a contradiction between the president casting himself as a peacemaker while dropping bombs on Iran. Quote, we believe the way to achieve peace is through strength, end quote. The president is gambling he can deliver a targeted strike without getting drawn into a prolonged conflict, something he has pledged to avoid. Iran's response could change the Trump administration's calculus. If Iran hits back and Trump weighs whether to retaliate with more U.S. strikes, which he is promising to do. Judge, Abrego Garcia to be freed with conditions. Article by Michael Collins and Dwayne W. Gang from USA Today. A federal judge in Tennessee has determined that a Salvadorian immigrant at the heart of the debate over President Donald Trump's border security policies must be released from jail while he awaits trial on human smuggling charges. U.S. Magistrate Judge Barbara Holmes ruled in Nashville on June 22nd that Kilmar Abrego Garcia, 29, cannot remain in detention, denying the federal government's request. The judge set a June 25th hearing to determine the conditions of Abrego Garcia's release. In a 51-page ruling, Holmes said the federal government failed to meet its burden of showing a properly supported basis for detention on grounds that Abrego Garcia poses an irremediable danger to the community or is likely not to appear. Even upon release, Abrego Garcia will likely end up in the custody of U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement and be subject to anticipated removal proceedings that are outside the jurisdiction of this court, the judge noted. That suggests the court's determination of the detention issues as a little more than academic exercise, she wrote. That suggestion is understandable, but the foundation of the administration of our criminal law depends on the bedrock of due process. That due process demands that every person charged with a federal crime be afforded a presumption of innocence unless proven guilty beyond a reasonable doubt, and that deprivation of an individual's liberty prior to trial can occur only in carefully limited circumstances, with all the procedural safeguards afforded by the Bail Reform Act. This is the end of the reading. This is Sharon, and I hope you have a good day.